Hello dear learners, I A.S. Kulkarni welcome to my presentation on hospital manufacturing. In this presentation, we will see containers and closures for parenterals. Learning outcome of today's presentation is, after completion of this presentation, you will be able to understand the containers and closures for parenterals. A roadmap of today's presentation. Here we will see containers and closures for parenteral preparations. Before going to actual presentation, here is a reflection spot. How will you select containers and closures for packaging of a parenterals? You just pause the presentation, try to write the answer for it, and then play the presentation. Yes, you are right. Let's move forward. So here we will see containers and closures for parenterals. So here mainly glass or plastic materials which are used to pack the parenteral preparation. Glass containers is mainly used for small volume parenterals, and plastic material is commonly used for the storing of the large volume parenterals. So the materials which are used to pack the parenteral product should be very high quality. The quality of that particular container should be high, because this parenteral preparation we are directly injecting to the body. If there is a contamination or the product which is stored in the containers will be contaminated, so there will be a direct effect on the patient. So here the containers which are using here, as well as the closures which are using here to store the parenteral preparation, should comprise the qualities. So in that first is here, so these containers must be physically and chemically inert. It should not react with the product which is stored in it. Second quality required for the containers and closures, it must be adequately transparent. So this mainly qualities which is required for the containers. So if that particular container is a transparent, so we can see the product if there is any changes inside that particular container or not. If that container is a non-transparent, so we can't see that. So it should be transparent to see the changes which is happening in that particular container or with that product or not. Third quality required here, so it do not permit diffusion across either side. So it should act as a barrier. It should not permit to the diffusion. Next quality required for the container, so the container must have adequate strength. It should not break easily. If the strength of that particular containers which is not good, so definitely it will affect on the product, or it will create any problem to the product which is stored in it. That's why these qualities which are required when we are selecting the containers for the parenteral preparation. So let's move forward. So you can see in this picture, so here these containers, that is glass containers, which are mainly used for the small volume parenterals, but some transfusion fluids which are also stored in it. So that depends on what type of product it is. You can see in this picture, so some ampules are there, as well as vials are there, as well as some small size containers with a different capacity, as well as the large containers which have capacity larger, which is also used for the parenteral preparation. So you can see in this second picture, so these are the infusion fluids which are stored in a glass container. So glass container which are mainly used for the small volume parenteral, but here some transfusion fluids which are also stored in the glass container. So it is mainly used for the most of the injectables. It is composed of, that is glass material which is composed of silicon dioxide with a percentage of other oxides such as sodium, calcium, potassium, magnesium, iron and boron. So mainly the composition of glass consists of sand, silicon oxide as well as the cullets which are also used at the time of manufacturing of a glass container. So here cullets is nothing but the broken glasses which are added at the time of preparation of container as a fusing agent. So it will help to fuse the material, that is glass material, at the time of a preparation of these containers. So these glass containers which are classified into mainly four types, that is type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4. So type 1 glass container, it is also called as highly resistant borosilicate glass. So it offers high resistance to alkali attack. So it is mainly composed of silicon dioxide and boric oxides. So because of this composition, it offers the high resistance to the alkali attack. So type 2 glass container, it is called as a treated soda lime glass container. So here is some treatment which is carried out on the glass container with silicon dioxide. So it also offers the high resistance to alkali attack. So these two, type 1 and type 2 borosilicate glass and treated soda lime glass used for the storing of parenteral preparations. So next type 3 containers is there, glass containers. So it is also called as a soda lime glass, but it offers moderate alkali attack, and that's why it is not used for the parenterals. So this makes the glass chemical less resistance due to the composition and percentage of sodium and calcium oxide. So due to its composition, it is not used for the parenteral preparations. Next type of container, that is type 4. So it is also called as non-parenteral container. So it is used for the general purpose. It is not used for the parenteral preparations. So type 3 and type 4, which is not used for storing of the parenterals. So type 3, which is mainly used for liquid orals and dry syrup. So this is about the types of glass containers. Let's move forward. So in this slide, we'll see the hydrolytic resistance test which is performed on the glass container to check the quality of that particular container, as well as to distinguish between type 1 and type 2 glass container. So here is a principle of this hydrolytic resistance test. So it based on, that is hydrolytic resistance test is based on blank determination of acid base titration. So here the test which is performed on the glass containers. So at that time, the distilled water which is stored in it, and they will keep into the autoclave for the thermal sterilization for 121 degree centigrade temperature for 2 hours. So after completion of that time, the liquids which is stored or which is filled in it, which is removed, and that particular liquid is called as test sample. So test sample which is used and the acid base titration which is done on it with the help of 0.01 molar hydrochloric acid, not the normal. So 0.01 molar hydrochloric acid. So with the help of 0.15 ml methyl red as an indicator. So at the time of addition of methyl red, only 0.15 ml, that particular indicator which is added. So after addition it will give the yellow color. So after that the titration which is done, that particular titration. So at the time of neutralization of that acid base, so here it shows the pink color. So some reading will be there. So that reading which is compared with the blank titration. So with the help of that difference, that is blank and the test sample titration readings, here that particular glass type which is distinguished, and the hydrolytic resistance test in this way which is performed on the glass container. So you just remember here, so it based on the blank determination of acid base titration, and here 0.01 molar HCl is used for the titration. So this titration which is done with the help of the indicator methyl red, and there is a color change from yellow to pink. So this is about the hydrolytic resistance test. So this resistance test which is performed on the glass container before selecting that particular container for the storage of or packing of the parenteral preparation. If it complies, then it will be definitely selected for the parenteral storage or parenteral packaging. If it doesn't comply, so they will be rejected. So this is about the hydrolytic resistance test. Let's move forward with the next type of container, that is plastic container. So here we'll see the plastic containers for parenterals. So you can see in this picture, so these are the transfusion fluids which is stored in the plastic containers. So it is used in a once, so it is called as single dose container. So transfusion fluid which is introduced or it is administered in a once, that's why it is called as a single dose container, while the vials or the small volume parenterals, so these are administered more than one time, or the drug which is withdrawal from this container, that is glass containers, that is small volume parenterals. So here the more than one time the withdrawal of drugs which is takes place. But in case of these infusion fluids, here these containers or these particular drugs or the liquids or the parenterals which is administered once, so that's why it is called as a single dose container. So your plastic containers which are used for the storage of mainly the large volume parenterals. Also some plastic bags which are also used for these preparations or storage of these parenterals. So here plastic containers which are used because of its properties, because plastic can be easily molded by application of heat and the pressure. So we can formulate the different capacities of the plastic containers. So these plastic containers which are divided into two groups, so on the basis of the polymers which is used for the manufacturing of plastic containers. So the first one, that is thermoset plastic material. So these types of material cannot be recycled once it is fabricated. So once the plastic container is manufactured or prepared, so it cannot be recycled. So here this manufacturing is done once. So for examples, here some of the polymers: bakelite, epoxy, silicone, polyurethane. So these examples which are comes under the thermoset plastic materials. So it cannot be recycled. Second type of plastic materials which are used, so here this, that is thermoplastics material. So it can be used or recycled by application of heat. So it is different than the thermoset plastic materials. So once it formulated, again we can use or again we can recycle on them to manufacture other containers. So these other manufacturing or other containers which are prepared with the help of the application of heat. For examples, the polyvinyl chloride, polypropylene, polyethylene. So these examples which are comes under thermoplastics material. So here the actually mechanism of this thermoset and thermoplastic materials is due to the cross linkage between the polymers. If the high cross linkage is happen, so it comes in thermoset plastic material, and if the cross linkage is not in strong manner, so it comes under the thermoplastics materials. So here also some ideal requirements are there in case of plastic container. So it must be inert and non-toxic. So it should not react with the product which is stored in it. Also one more, that is ideal requirement in case of plastic container, so it must not absorb drug and release material to the drain. So it should be least permeable. So these are the some ideal requirements in case of plastic containers if we are going to use for the parenterals. So let's move forward. Here we will see the difference between glass and plastic containers. So let's see. So here this difference which is categorized under some parameters or some criterias. So what criteria is there: nature, chemical compatibility, transparency, shipment, and last packaging and closures. So let's see one by one. So here in case of glass container, so the weight of this particular glass container is high. So this glass material which is high weight material. But in case of plastic materials, so these plastic materials is a light in weight. So next criteria, that is nature. So glass is a brittle. So it is hard, but when it is a dropped, so it will be easily breakable. That is, it is also called as the fragile material. But in case of non-plastic containers, so it is a non-brittle but collapsible. So it will not break when it drops to the down. Next one, that is chemical compatibility. So here sometimes glass container releases alkali into the solution on the thermal sterilization. So in case of sterilization of the parenterals, here we are using the terminal sterilization. So at that time, so these glass containers may release the alkali into the solution, so which is not needed. In case of plastic containers, so it is inert one with the solution on heat. When we are applying the heat here in case of plastic container, so it will not release the alkali into the solution. So this is about the chemical compatibility of these two types of container, glass and plastic. Next, under the transparency. So glass container is on a transparent. We can see if there are any changes in the product which is stored in it. So it is visible in case of glass containers. You can see the product which is stored in it. But in case of plastic containers, so it is a less transparent or slightly opaque. You can't see actual what is done with that product after the storing in it. Next criteria is the shipment. So here in case of glass container, so it is necessary to handle with care because it is a fragile one. But in case of plastic container, so it is a convenient. So it is not fragile, it will not break if you are applying the pressure also, because it is a flexible material. Last criteria here, the packaging and closure seal. So here in case of glass container, so here these closures which will be, or that closing of the mouth of that container which is done with the aid of the machine. But in case of plastic container, here FFS technology, that is form, fill and seal technology, it is necessary to close the or to put the closures on the mouth of that particular container. So this is the difference between the glass and plastic containers. So let's move to the last point of this presentation, that is closures. So you can see in this picture, so here some type of closures which are used here, that is a rubber closure. So mainly for the parenteral preparations in case of vials, as well as if that particular parenteral which is stored in the large volume parenterals, so which is also use here the rubber as a closure material. So here rubber based closures which are effective in a sealing in case of a parenterals. So here rubber stopper are used as closure for the small volume parenterals as well as the large volume parenteral. So in large volume parenterals, when it is stored in the glass containers, so these closures, that is rubber closures, which is used because it has a elastic property. If you are applying the pressure and when we release that pressure, so it will goes to its original state. So due to this property here, rubber closures which are mainly used for the parenterals preparations, as well as for easy insertion of a needle at the time of withdrawal of drug. You can see in this picture. So here needle which is introduced from the needle or through the needle for the withdrawal of a drug. So when we release that or when we remove the needle, so that rubber will goes to its original state, and the contamination or entry of microorganisms as well as contaminant particles will be avoided. So due to these properties or these reasons here, mainly rubber closures which are used. But at the time of selection of these rubber closures, so here some tests which are done on these rubbers to check the quality of that drug, either it is extracting some material or not, or it will be absorb some material or not. So to check that particular property of that container, here are some tests which are done on this rubber closure. When it complies all the tests, so it is used for the parenterals as a closures. So this is about the rubbers which are used as a closure for the parenteral preparations. If you have any question, you can drop your question on my WhatsApp number or on my email ID. At the last, thank you for patient listening. Thank you very much.